Oh boy. Hey guys. I'll start off by saying if any of you are looking for a good laugh, go look at this year's Oscar nominations. Jesus Christ. Yeah, boy. Hollywood has become a ridiculous, boring mess. Just embarrassing. Hollywood should be embarrassed. Oof, boy. If this is the best cinema that we can pump out at this point, we are fucked, man. Oh my God. Yeah, anyway, I don't want to get lost in that. But yeah, if you're looking for a good giggle, go check out the Oscar nominations. Holy God Almighty. All right. A couple days ago, I asked my lurkers, not everybody, but I asked my lurkers if there was anything they'd like to know because lurkers tend to not want to comment, and I understand that. Totally, totally understand that. I rarely comment on videos myself when I'm watching other YouTube content. It's very rare that I do that actually. And I get it. I know why. Like, I don't really want to, YouTube can be a brutal place. People are brutal on YouTube. Not everybody, but, for every 100 views you get on one of your own videos, in my case, a content creator, every 100 comments I get, one of them is reminding me that of something awful. It's usually somebody telling me how horrible I look or how shitty my opinion is or telling me to just it's any number of things. I'm constantly removing comments. It just is what it is. So I don't blame people for not wanting to comment. It took me a long time myself to convince myself that I wanted to do a YouTube channel. People had been recommending some of my friends thought I should do one, going back all the way to like 2011, 2012. And I just resisted it. And I resisted it and I resisted it. I never wanted to do it. And I finally just threw caution to the wind and I was like, okay, let's do it. It's not so much that I'm afraid of being criticized or my critiques and my reviews being attacked. I understand that's the risk you take. But I also it's more like I just don't want to play the game. It's a game that I'm not interested in playing because when you're on the internet, you subject yourself to morons and dipshits and retards who just want to go out of their way to either demean you or hurt your feelings or do any of those things. And while I don't normally let strangers hurt my feelings, especially on YouTube, something that I have discovered that really pisses me off, like genuinely kind of offends me, is when the people who watch my channel, they get attacked. And I've seen it happen a lot. And you guys who watch my channel and you've been subscribing for a few years, you've seen me go off on this. I kind of feel like you can say whatever you want about me, go for it. I'm not going to get my butt hurt for it. But when you attack people that subscribe to me and are trying to engage in a conversation, that's when I get pissed. So I just want everyone to feel comfortable with my channel. If you come by here, I want you to feel comfortable in asking whatever you want to ask because this is the reason why most people troll and never comment. It's not so much the trolls, it's like to me the definition of trolling isn't so bad. It's the people who comment don't want to be attacked. And yeah, that I have a problem with. So I want those of you who don't normally comment to feel comfortable in doing this. I'm sick of looking at my own face here, sticking my thumb in my eye. Sorry to subject you to that. Anyway, I want you guys to feel comfortable. And you guys were good enough to send in some questions. In fact, here's one that just came in. I didn't even see this one. Jaybird 333. Okay, I'll get to that. I'm gonna go from oldest to newest though. You ever get on, you get on YouTube, you know how YouTube recommends shit to you? Like, what is this crap? Oh, here's some Howard Stern stuff. Some of it makes sense. Like, yeah, I watch Howard Stern clips on YouTube all the time. So this makes sense. Jim Cornette shit list. I don't know who that is. Then it recommends myself to me. There's more Howard Stern stuff. This is some gaming stuff. I like this guy, Timothy Kane. Howard Stern on Letterman. I love Howard Stern and Letterman. There's Criterion. Again, it's recommending my own shit. Yeah. I mean, how reductionist can you get? But there you go. Anyway, I want people to feel comfortable in asking questions. And so that's why I'm here, and that's what I'm going to do. Thank you very much for those of you who don't normally comment. I'm going to do my best. I was going to answer these like in text, and I did answer a couple of these briefly, but I thought it would be easier to just go through these in a video. So I hope I get more, and I'm going to leave this video open for other people to comment. Hopefully, oh, here's another one. I didn't see this one. What is this? Well, I'll do my best to pronounce your names, at least your YouTube handles. Yeah, there are a couple of questions in here that I didn't even see. In fact, this is what I do, guys. You guys want to see some inside information. When you guys comment, I usually take the time to read it. Ooh, that's a good question. I love that one. This is what I do, man. When you see that little love icon pop up, this is what I'm doing. Hunched over in the half dark of my room, staring at your responses. Okay. The first question here is from Colonel Bastion, 6036. How you doing, Colonel? I have been lurking for a few days. I saw you like Industrial and Meat Beat Manifesto. Cool stuff, right? Have you heard of French House or Deep Disco? It's the next logical step. I invite you to dig deep into my archives, Colonel. I have over 200 videos and I've talked a lot about house. I've talked a lot about disco and all of their permutations. So go check that out. Patrick Sorello, 9793. Again, I apologize if I'm not saying your names right. You know, uh, I'm doing my best here. Come on, give me a break. Last year, you gave us your picks on great records that came out in 2023. Uh, Sorry, I got lost there. 2023, there's a couple of gems in there that I listened to a lot, like Kassem. Yeah. Kassem, I hope you dug into Kassem. He is an artist worth digging into. Cluster One, Mix 'em Up, and Kassem again. Any suggestions for electronic records that stood out for you in 2024? Thanks. I'm going to do a video on this, Patrick. I've been meaning to do it, and I'm going to do it. I know we're a month into the year already, but I will do a video on that. To name them all off the top of my head right now, I couldn't do it. I'm going to get them. I'm going to get them arranged and or not so much arranged, but I found that I've talked about this already in the past, I know, but I like doing rather than showing records, I'd much rather just share my screen like I'm doing now. And people have told me, and the numbers are there. People don't care if I'm showing records. I'm just telling you guys. I know there's a few of you that want me to show records, but the vast, vast majority of my audience don't care. And going to Discogs is just much easier. It's much less cumbersome for me. I can access all of those records. I can look at the years, because sometimes I don't remember the exact years. So sharing my screen is much more preferable for me. It's just easier. And the numbers are there. People who watch my channel don't care. They are totally willing to watch me share my screen and put my little mug up on the top. I don't know which side am I? Am I over here? Or am I over here? I don't know. I'm there somewhere. So I will do an electronic video because, as you know, I love me electronic. It's really my favorite genre, if you can call it a genre. Okay, so oh my God, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. It's Mary. I'll just say Mary C. Vernon, 6152. Thank you very much for your comment. I haven't ever seen any of your names. These are all new to me. You are all new to me, and I love that you're commenting, and I love you guys, and thank you very much for taking the time to do this. How much How much do you love the Butthole Surfers and or the Melvins? I like how you say, how much do you love? Like you're assuming that I love them. You could have said, do you love the Butthole Surfers? Or what do you think of the Butthole Surfers and the Melvins? But you just went right for the point. How much do you love the Butthole Surfers and or the Melvins? I love them. You are right. You read me very well. Fuck yeah, man. I mean, especially the Butthole Surfers. I like the Melvins. I respect what they've done. I'm not so much a fan of their music. I hate to say that. Like Melvins fans will kill me for this, but I do like the Melvins. I'm just not an overt fan of their music as much as I am a fan of what they've done for music. You know what I'm saying? All of the bands they've influenced, just music in general that they've influenced, their approach, their thought patterns, their musicalities, and their talents. Yeah, of course I love the Melvins. I really love the Butthole Surfers. Oh yes, love the Butthole Surfers. I've seen them live a number of times. One of the first shows I ever saw was the Butthole Surfers. Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. Love Gibby Haynes. He's so fucking funny. Every time I see an interview with him, I just have to like start laughing at some point. He's got such a great classic sense of humor. The whole band does. I know that their later stuff gets more attention. Songs like Pepper, right? Right? Pepper, wasn't that the name of it? They got more popular in later years. Their sound became a little bigger, more produced, but it's their early shit that's really amazing. Locust Abortion Technician might be, I don't know. Is that my favorite? It's hard to pick a favorite. Uh, love the Butthole Surfers. Yes, you are right. So you assumed that I love the Butthole Surfers and the Melvins, and you were correct. I do. I especially the Butthole Surfers, man. Yeah, love them. Super fun to see live. I don't know if you've ever seen them live, Mary C. Vernon 6152, but you should. I mean, it's probably too late now, but how about you? What's your favorite Butthole Surfers album? And have you ever seen them live? Were you even alive when they were a band back in God knows when, the 80s? If you were, what's your favorite album? Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Gas Oven Geheimen. Okay. No way I pronounced that correctly, but I think I see Gas Oven in there somewhere. Yep, Lurker here. Only commented. Oh, right. Anywhere when you see my heart here, it means I've read your comments. I did read this. You commented on my Fluke video. Glad you watched that. Love me some Fluke. Just keep on doing music videos. Okay, 90s electronic stuff is my fave. Me too. Absolutely. Extra bonus when oh, speaking of 90s electronic stuff, going back here to Mary C. Speaking of 90s electronic music, have you ever heard Orbital? And in specificity, have you ever heard the track Satan from Orbital? If you're a Butthole Surfers fan, you should listen to Orbital Satan. Listen to the very beginning of the song and you'll understand why. Okay. I was thinking about Butthole Surfers and you just mentioned 90s electronic and that made me think of Orbital and then I connected the dots. That's how my brain works. It's my most of what's left in here is useless, but that's how it works. 90s electronic stuff is my fave. Extra bonus when original mags are on. Oh, that's right. You wanted me to do the book stuff, right? What about music books recommendations? Yeah, great suggestion. Gas Oven. I love your name. Yes, I will do books. I'd never even thought of doing that. So thank you for giving me content ideas. I'd never even thought of doing it. I'm gonna do it. Thank you very much. In fact, my brain started working as soon as I read your comment. It started working like, oh, yeah, yeah, I could do this and I could do that. And yeah. So I already have some ideas of what I'm going to include in that list, but I'm going to do a video on that. All right. Cactus Motel sign, it looks like. Hello, Cactus Motel sign. How are you? Year or so long watcher here. Appreciate your videos. Thank you very much. Especially the electronic music reviews suggestions. Have you shared your take on Underworld's albums? Sorry, I can't talk today. Underworld's albums. And that makes sense, right? I pick a day that I can't talk and I choose to do a video. Yeah, I told you I don't always make the greatest suggestions or ideas or even opinions. And by the way, no one's going to tell you my opinions are worse than me. I think my opinions are ridiculously stupid. That's why I love that you guys keep coming back. I'm shocked, but you're still here. How is that possible? Have you shared your take on Underworld's albums? Would also love to hear your take on video games. Now, see, I love your questions here. Well, first of all, let me answer Underworld. Yes, I am going to do Underworld's albums. I did a video last year, 2 years ago. I don't know, some point in the last few years, I did an Underworld remix video. Did you see that? Cactus Motel Sign. I and I'm still doing it. It's an ongoing series, but I like talking about remixes. I think that there are a number of people who have collected such a beautiful body of remix work that it warrants attention and discussion. I've already covered three of, like, in my opinion, the top three remixers of all time: Andy Weatherall, The Orb, and Underworld. I think those three are at the top, like the Mount Rushmore of remixers, really. I haven't done the Underworld albums yet, and I'm not sure why, because I think everything Underworld did in the 90s are things of beauty. Dub No Bass, Second Toughest, and Buku Fish, all beautiful albums. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to make a separate video for each album. I do think that Underworld, not that you asked, but I'm going to tell you anyway, I do think Underworld has fallen off the cliff ever since Darren Emerson left. So basically, the early Underworld stuff and even Frore, the shit they did in the 80s is pretty bad. Then in the 90s, they were amazing. Everything they did was just top shelf shit. And then when Darren Emerson left in the early 2000s, the band just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of fizzled. Without Emerson, they're just not the same. I wouldn't say they're bad, but I really haven't gotten into any Underworld albums since Buku Fish. And that's been what, 26 years now? I mean, they put that album out in the early 99. So, yeah, it's 26 years ago. I mean, when Emerson left. Emerson was the secret sauce. Like Hyde and Smith had been around forever, but Emerson, he was the key, at least for me. And that reminds me, I'm going to do someone else asked recently, someone asked if I do an Acid House commentary list, and I'm going to, and that's what reminds me of Darren Emerson. I found a list on Acid House records that Darren Emerson commented on, and I'm going to do a video on that. So hopefully you look forward to that. Now, your next question is a long, 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 long answer, and I'm hesitating. He's asking, would also love to hear my take on video games. I love video games. Lifelong gamer. I've been playing video games since I was 8 years old, over 40 years ago. So it's been a long time. Love video games. I think along with film and music, they are pieces of beautiful art. And I probably indulge in video games as much as I do with music or film. I have that much respect for video games. I'm going to I'm going to stop at that. I mean, if I talked about how I felt about video games, I'd be sitting here for hours. I could have my own channel doing video game commentary and reviews, and I used to review video games. I mean, it was a job. I was paid to review video games. I'm one of those guys. So I have a ton of thoughts about video games. I have even more thoughts on the current video game industry and where it's going and where it's at and where it's been. But I'm not convinced that my audience wants to know that much detail about my take on video games. In fact, I just posted a question in my community tab. I hope you guys take the time to go answer it. I literally asked my subscribers if you're interested, not just subscribers actually, I asked everybody who stumbles upon my channel if you'd be interested in video game commentary. When I'm done answering these questions, I'll go look at the results. I haven't looked at the results yet. But I'm hesitating on doing video game commentary because I feel like my channel started as a music thing, and then I started doing movies, and I feel like that's already stretching people's interest thin enough. One thing I've learned about YouTube is you got to keep it focused, otherwise people drift. Like people just don't have attention spans anymore. They just don't. They want to hear, they want you to come in and do a quick review under 10 minutes and then leave. That's what YouTube is. Those of us who post long videos, it's really luck of the draw if we get viewers or not. Somehow I keep going up. Um, I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers now. So, or I shouldn't say that. I'm almost at 1,700. I need to be honest. 2,000 still a couple hundred away. So, but I'm creeping in the right direction, and I'm surprised because again, most video makers and content creators on YouTube, their videos are just short vignettes. They're 5 minutes, 6 minutes, lots of flashy editing. That's what people want. So I'm a little surprised, as always, that my subscribership has gone up and it keeps going up. So I don't know, man. All I can do is keep doing my thing. But I fear if I do my thing and I include video games, it's going to push people's limits of attention span. You know what I mean? So that's a long-winded answer. I know I would love to comment on video games, but let me see how people feel about it. I have plenty to say about video games. Plenty. But I don't want to bore the piss out of the people I already have here. I think people want music. That's why they came here. Like when people subscribe to you and you're talking about music, they expect you to talk about music. And I don't necessarily give a shit what people think about me and what I do, but I also don't want to scare off the people that have been loyal to the channel. You know what I mean? I'm kind of in a weird quandary there. So, anyway, I do want to give people what they want to some degree. So here we have Rim Cover Hof 7015. Rim Cover. I'm not even going to try to say it. Rim Cover Huff, how are you? I do have a question for you about music and artists that link or relate oddly. Oh yeah, I read this. When you did a deep dive into the KLF, I tumbled into a very deep rabbit hole. Nice. If any band deserves the time to dive into the rabbit hole, it's KLF. When I came out of that hole, no pun intended, I loved the sound of pedal steel guitar like on Build a Fire. Yeah. Recently, YouTube recommended a video by Will Van Horn playing a pedal steel version of Aphex Twin's Avril 14. Cool. I was blown away by this combination, then found out he also did an incredible rendition of Seyfu Yohan's Gekermo Su. So, an Ethiopian artist I discovered. Okay, another older rabbit hole I went down. Do you have any experience with different musical interests that get woven together? Right. That's kind of a very broad question. I feel like my whole channel is kind of about that, but um, what do you mean by experience? I guess I don't really know what you mean. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand your question. Are you saying like, do I enjoy like when a completely different culture takes on um a song and does their own rendition of it, like in terms of like maybe localizing the sound? Is that what you're asking? Like, I mean, there are plenty of examples of this. Like when someone does a cover version, someone will do a new age ambient version of like a heavy metal song or so. Is that what you're talking about? I want to hold off on answering that. I don't know that I understand your question completely. But I appreciate your question. I'm sorry. I don't know that I understand it fully. So before I answer it, I want to understand it. Not exactly a lurker, so fully expect my question be ignored. Yeah, Eelpana, you broke the fucking rules, man. Who the hell do you think you are, dude? It's Ilpana. We love Ilpana. Ilpana, he comments. He's a regular commenter. He's a good guy. Ilpana, I'll look the other way for you. But how dare you? How dare you? I'm kidding, of course. Curious as to whether you've ever attempted to create your own music at some stage. You have a great interest and knowledge for music, so I imagine you'd make quality sounds if you ever tried. Well, thank you for kissing my ass. I appreciate that. You're uh you're trying to extract an answer out of me by sniffing my butt. Good for you. You are a very good manipulator, and I hand it to you when it comes to manipulation tactics. But again, only partially kidding on that one. Um, yes, I have made music. In fact, I'm a group of 500 million other people who have this story. But it does happen to be true. In the 90s, I had produced some music and I thought I was going to release it. In fact, I had a deal to release some stuff. The label went under. I'm not going to mention the label. The label went under, and then at the same time, I started working full time and then DJing 30 hours a week, and then it just kind of went away. I've dabbled in making music off and on since the 90s. I still do, but I don't focus on it. It's just one of those things that I've always thought about it, like it's always kind of in the back of my mind, but no, I have never actually released anything, but I do make my own music. I'm a musician too. I've mentioned this before, but I make electronic music, but I play all kinds of stuff. So, I write music too. I know how to read it. I know how to write it. So it makes it a little easier. Slow Dive 52. How you doing, buddy? Slow Dive 52, another new name. I don't recognize this name. I only recently found your channel and quickly became obsessed. Nice. You have a singular voice as a music reviewer on the website. Thank you. And a level of authenticity, which is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. That's really all I want to do here. It's the truth. I want to be authentic. That's why I trail off so much, and that's why I never get to the point sometimes. I'm trying to be authentic. My brain goes in different directions. I think things are interconnected, and I never think that only one thing is true. I think most everything in life, there are at least 9 or 10 or 20 or 500 things that are all true simultaneously. That's the glory of life. Thank you, though. I love it that you think I'm authentic. That's really all I care about. That's it. More so than I care about music or film or anything else. I just want to be authentic. I have a few questions. One, would you ever make a video about the other Slow Dive albums? I loved your video on Everything is Alive, and I would love to hear your opinion on the rest of their albums. Hell yeah. And I feel like I have an interesting take on Slowdive. I was there really from the beginning. I saw them live back in 1992 with Ride. Imagine that. That double bill in 1992. Ride and Slowdive together. Yeah, I'll do a Slowdive. Yes, absolutely. I'll do a Slowdive video. Number two, what is your all-time favorite book and album? I know you've said Brazil is your favorite movie, so I won't bother to ask. I mean, dude. I can't answer that. I get asked this a lot, and I don't know. I mean, think about it. Could you pick your favorite album? Jesus. I mean, it's an impossible question. This depends on my mood. I look at that as like when I look at my most played albums in my life, I think of albums like this is I can't do one, dude. I can't do it. I'm sorry, but the most played albums in my life are probably Happy Mondays, Pills and Thrills and Belly Aches, the first Stone Roses album, Autechre and Cunabula, Aphex Twins Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92, PJ Harvey, Stories from the City, Stories from the Sea, Ween, The Mollusk, uh, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, Cocteau Twins, Heaven or Las Vegas, Carl Craig, Land Cruising. Oh my God. I mean, oh, a lot of my favorite records too aren't albums. Like the records that are flashing through my mind, a lot of them are 12 inches. Like any number of Kissem Moss 12 inches, or Back to Autechre, like the Garbage 12 inch, or Black Dog Bites, and LFO Advance. Um, God, it's an impossible question. I mean, these are some of my favorite albums, and I've done videos on most of these albums. Um, yeah, it's Tom Waits' Bone Machine. Um, I haven't done any Tom Waits videos. I'm surprised that I haven't done that. But yeah, Tom Waits' Bone Machine for sure. Boards of Canada, Gia Gotti. Oh my God. Too many to mention. Ministry, the land of rape and honey. Skinny Puppy, Rabies. Uh, I mean, you're a Slow Dive fan. Some Creation albums are popping up in my head, like Primal Scream, um, Vanishing Point by Primal Scream. One of my favorite albums. Definitely one of my favorite Creation albums. So I don't know. There's some I can't pick. I can't pick one. I can't do it. And book. Yeah, boy. I can't pick one book. It's impossible. I talked about one of my favorite books when I was doing the KLF videos. There's a book called Bad Wisdom that was written by Bill Drummond and Mark Manning. Definitely one of my all-time favorite books. But most of my favorite books are pretty common, like Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky, amazing book. I'm big into sci-fi. I used to love Isaac Asimov. I still do. I used to. The Lord of the Rings books. I mean, duh, that's just obvious. Can't pick just one. I've probably spent too much time like humming and hawing through this. I apologize, but it's an impossible question for me to answer. But thank you so much for asking. I definitely will do slow dive videos. Oh, wait, there's another part to this. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Number three, what is your favorite sounding pressing? Oh yeah. You mean like vinyl pressing? You mean like physical? Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't really think of records like that. I don't really care so much. I mean, uh, yeah, I don't know that I have an answer to that. I mean, you do mean like physical press, right? Like the best sounding pressing I've ever heard or whatever. I mean, honestly, I think any vinyl pressing prior to 2000 or 2005 is excellent. They just used to press records right. You didn't even know that if they were right or not. They just were right. In the last 10, 15 years, records just aren't pressed the same. The quality is nowhere near where it used to be. So if I'm understanding your question, pressing, I don't know that I have an answer to that. I just don't think of my records in that way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Number three, do you like the band Curve? Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I was following Curve from the beginning. I was there. They released a number of singles, right? Initially, two or three singles, I want to say, two or three 12 inches came out. And then the initial album came out, Doppelganger, right? Doppelganger. That was followed by Cuckoo, right? Love those records. Love them. I just love that they took that kind of industrial spin and embraced techno with it. They were doing it in a really unique way. Also, Tony Holiday was the singer. As a red-blooded male, that was a big reason why I was obsessed with Curve for a little while. Tony Holiday was a serious hottie, and she probably still is. I just haven't seen her for a long time. Didn't she marry Alan Moulder? Are her and Alan Moulder married? Right? Alan Moulder is a producer, for those of you who don't know. I don't know, maybe I'm getting that wrong. But he produced Curve, obviously. Love Curve. Yeah, the first two albums for sure, Doppelganger and Cuckoo. What I loved about Curve too is they were one of the first rock bands that was really embracing that 90s electronic sound. The moment that I knew Curve was gonna maybe blow up in a different way is when they brought Aphex Twin in to do that remix. What was it? Falling Free? Do you remember this? It was I still have the 12 inch. It's like a one-sided 12 inch and it's got an Aphex Twin mix of Falling Free on it. Fucking awesome. One of his best remixes. And I do remember distinctly thinking, wow, Curve just found a whole new audience and they deserve it. Yeah, and I liked how they embraced electronic music in general. I remember when Cuckoo came out, they had that 12 inch and what was it called? Blacker 3 tracker, I think. Remember this? Future Sound of London was on it. Drum Club was on it. I think Trent Reznor showed up too. I think there was a Trent Reznor remix on it, which was pretty good, you know. Yeah, I love Curve. What was their third album? What was it? Come Clean? Remember Come Clean that came out toward the later half of the 90s? That was a really good album, I thought. Anyway, love Curve. Thank you for the questions. Love watching your channel for about 3 years. Thank you, Leighton Owen 595. I appreciate that. Love watching your channel for about 3 years. Don't commit, but respect your point of view. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't respect my own point of view. I think I don't think anyone thinks I'm full of shit more than I do. You think I'm kidding. But again, you guys keep coming back. Don't ask me why. I guess you guys are gluttons for punishment. But you guys keep coming. So here I am. So yeah, don't ever commit to what I say. If there's one message I want my channel to have is always be skeptical of everybody, always. Don't take my word for it. I just kind of want to steer people in a certain direction. Then you can go do the research on your own. Waiting for your Richard Kirk video. I know. I can't believe I haven't done a Richard Kirk video. You don't even understand how much this guy means to me. I love Richard Kirk. Love him. One of my all-time favorites. So I will do a Kirk video. Hello, Faint Cranes. How are you? Why do you think industrial music does not get the love from critics or top albums lists? I think that, industrial music is too experimental. You know, the vast majority of the music listening public on the face of the earth don't want music that's challenging. They just don't. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just that there are certain people like us, you and I, and everybody who likes my channel. We thrive on newness, like cutting edge sounds, experimental sounds. That's important to us, but it's not important to everybody else. 90% of the listening public is they just want to hear Britney Spears or Taylor Swift or you know whoever Kanye West, Billie Eilish. That's the kind of shit they want. They want to go. People in my family are like this. They want to buy a ticket to a show. They want to hear music on the radio. They want to be told what to like. It's the same reason why people are religious. It's the same reason why people rely on their blind faith to build a complete life framework about what they do and what their beliefs are. It's why people read the Bible. They want to be told what to do. They don't trust their own instincts. And it's the same with music. I think most people who buy albums and listen to music, they just want something forgettable. They want something disposable. And that's why pop music is so interesting. And it is disposable. And I love pop music. I do, like most people. But industrial it's too heavy, the right stuff. It's too heavy, it's too thought-provoking, it's too challenging, and people don't want that. And in terms of like top album lists, I mean, you've probably noticed this, and I'm guessing by you asking this question, you already realize this. The top journalists in the industry, they get hired because they know rock and roll. They know pop. That's what the vast majority of people want to hear about. They want to hear about Pink Floyd. They want to hear about Led Zeppelin. They want to hear about the Beatles. They want to hear about AC/DC and Tom Petty. By the way, I love all those artists. There's nothing wrong with AC/DC. I listen to AC/DC. I love them. I listen to Tom Petty. I love him. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to say I don't like those bands. I do. But the vast majority of bands want to hear about Queen and things. I love Queen. Nothing wrong with Queen. You won't find a bigger Queen lover than me. I love me some Queen. But those bands appeal to the largest audiences. And so that's why you're not going to see them on any top. You're not going to see Throbbing Gristle. You're not going to see Skinny Puppy. You're never going to see them on a top album list that's just generic. Like you're never going to see Neil Young at number nine and then Skinny Puppy at number eight. And honestly, they shouldn't coexist. I think that's why we love industrial music, right? It's different. I don't know that any of us would respond to the best industrial music if it was being generally accepted like Pink Floyd is. It just wouldn't be it wouldn't be industrial. You see what I'm trying to say? You should take it as a compliment that industrial music doesn't get included in top album lists because if it was, it would be watered down. Because that's what happens to music or movies or video games or any type of art. If you water it down and you try to appeal to the most people, it gets boring. Just by nature, just by default. There's only one direction to go if you're trying to appeal to the most amount of people. Look at Taylor Swift. She tries to appeal to the most amount of people, and she does. And her music is shit. But some of you out there that even watch my channel, you guys, you know who you are. Your guilty pleasure is Taylor Swift. Again, I know plenty of people in my friend circle and my family that like Taylor Swift. I think her music is dog shit, but plenty of people want that. People don't want to think about things when they experience art and entertainment. They want to see it and then go home and they just want to fill up voids in their day. They don't take it seriously like you and I do. You know what I'm trying to say? So I would take that as a compliment that these bands don't get involved with top album lists because if they were in there, we wouldn't like them. They wouldn't have that edge. Not to, I mean, not to say that bands like Pink Floyd or the Beatles aren't edgy. I mean, they were, but those bands had a much wider appeal because of the type of music they made. Skinny Puppy's never going to have a huge appeal, and they shouldn't. And good, um, I've said this before in previous videos too. I don't think bands like Skinny Puppy are underrated. I think they're right where they should be. They're not underrated, they're overrated. I think they have the perfect amount of respect that they deserve. Those of us who know and pay attention and are sensitive to these kinds of genres and things, we know how great they are, and that's good enough. Skinny Puppy makes a nice living. They don't need a bigger audience. Again, if they did have a bigger audience, that would mean that they'd be getting closer to Linkin Park or some new metal bullshit. And none of us would be happy about that. I hope that answers your question. All right, this is the last question. Unless I've gotten another one, maybe I'll refresh this page, but nah, I'm gonna leave it at this. It's been going on long enough, people. Jaybird333, how's it going, dude? I have not seen your name before. I almost forgot to comment on this. I don't consider myself a regular contributor, so I wanted to ask, how did you initially evolve your taste in music? For myself, it branched out from The Cure in late 86. Also, do you play any instruments or sing at all? Cool. Thanks for the question, man. Uh, I'll answer that second one first. Yes, yes. I have a long history of being a musician. I am a classically trained pianist. I also play tenor saxophone. I know it's kind of odd ends of the spectrum there, but yes, I play piano, tenor sax. I play guitar. I play bass. I play drums. But my two go-to instruments that I'm really good at are piano and tenor sax. I know it's random, but It is what it is. My family is very musical. I come from a family of musicians and I grew up with instruments all over the place. So I just kind of didn't have a choice. Not that I wanted a choice. I loved it. I fit right into that mold. And I definitely do not regret it. I've learned how to read music and write music, and it's definitely served me well. It kind of works that mathematical part of your brain. You know what I'm saying, Jay? Like when I'm reading and writing music, I can feel like when I'm doing mathematical equations and things, the same little piece of my brain is working. So I definitely am glad I got that experience. My grandmother played in a big band back in the, was it 30s? Back in the 30s. She played in a big band. That's how she met my grandfather, my mother's parents. So they were musical. And so my grandmother, my mother's mother, she played sax, tenor sax. In fact, the very same tenor sax that I have to this day that I still play on occasion. So it's music is kind of it's run down through the ley lines of my family's geographical history. It's there. Um, and then initially evolve my taste or devolve, how did I initially evolve my taste? Boy, that's a tough one. Thanks for that question too. That's a good one. Branched out from The Cure in late 86. Um, I mean, I've talked about this a little bit, I think. Musical family. My dad had tons of records growing up, and he had everything, every type of artist and genre you could think of. Everything. He loved, well, I was gonna say he loved jazz. He loved black music. I know it maybe that sounds corny, but he loved black music, man. He loved blues. He loved bluegrass. He loved jazz. I grew up with records. All I remember from the very earliest days of music were albums from James Brown, Marvin Gaye, Bo Diddley, Ray Charles, Otis Redding, Albert King, Buddy Guy, Junior Wells. I, those are the very first album I ever remember looking at as a kid was Born Under a Bad Sign by Albert King. Have you ever seen the cover to this album? Holy shit. Now I don't know if it's because it's one of the first albums I ever saw, but to this day it's one of my favorite album covers I've ever seen. That was my influence early on. It was black music, really. That's all I heard. To this day, I think James Brown is one of the greatest artists in the history of the world. I mean, I think he has shaped hip hop and pop music in ways that people don't even understand. Maybe that's your answer. Maybe it's James Brown. I don't know. Because my dad listened to that, but then he'd also have Kraftwerk albums and he'd have Can and he'd have Blondie and he'd have The Clash and he'd have Pink Floyd, random bizarre disco records and krautrock records, Amon Duel he'd have. Uh Shit like that. So it was mainly the black music, but then he'd have this krautrock and this disco and this punk over here. And then my mom was way into pop music. So it was the Beatles and the Monkees and the Kinks. My mom was into that. So it was a real conglomeration of all kinds of great things coming together. So if I had to, you're coming up with one band, The Cure. I don't know that I could narrow it down to one band, but that was what it was early on, like in the late 70s, early 80s, when I was a toddler, and it was kind of all this music was bombarding my brain. I think my first independent find that was outside of the realm of my parents. The first big band I kind of got into on my own was Talking Heads. As boring as that is. Talking Heads kind of all of a sudden it showed me like, holy shit, like You could be punk, but also kind of new wave and weird all at once. Talking Heads was a big band. Another band that really changed my life was Devo. Devo was huge, huge into Devo when I was a kid. I'm trying to think of other bands. I mean, it was a lot of random stuff, but Devo, Talking Heads, I was way into Peter Gabriel too. And I highly recommend those of you who think you know Peter Gabriel to dig deeper into his early solo shit. Not his Genesis stuff, but his early solo stuff. Peter Gabriel was fucking awesome. His stuff was on another plane. It was completely unique. It still is. No one's ever really made music like Peter Gabriel. So yeah, I'd have to point toward bands like that. Devo, Peter Gabriel. I hope this is answering your question, by the way. It was there's so many influences as a kid from my parents, and then when I broke out, I kind of I think I glommed onto new wave. The Cure was part of that too, like you. The Cure was part of that. Depeche Mode for sure. Erasure, Fad Gadget, Frank Tovey. Those would all. I don't know. I feel like there's not one artist. It was all a very nebulous thing. Like when I was getting into Depeche Mode and Fad Gadget, I was still listening to my James Brown records. You know what I'm saying? So to me, even to this day, when I listen to James Brown or I listen to Aretha Franklin or I listen to any of that early shit that I loved, and then if I transition into Autechre or Aphex Twin or The Cure, to me, there's no real transition. It's just me enjoying music that I love. And I think it's all because of that very nebulous experience I had with so many different types of music as a kid. God, I hope that makes sense. I know that was a really verbose answer, but your question was really good and it kind of got my brain moving. So anyway, there's your answer. I hope I hope that answers your question. It probably doesn't, but I hope it does. So I hope that answers your questions. I really appreciate you guys popping by. I'm gonna get out of here, and I'll keep you up to date on the video game stuff. I'm still not sure that I want to go in that direction. I'm gonna let you guys kind of dictate whether or not I should do that or not. I apologize, by the way. It's so blurry. It's getting kind of dark, so the lighting's getting bad. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Thank you so much for taking the time to ask questions. And if you have more, I'll answer them to the best of my ability. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you next time. Later.